Shout out to Koo because I know he does pay for the Substack. And his tweet says, according to Mark Stein's latest article this morning, the Pistons are internally considering making a trade for Michael Porter Jr. or Miles Bridges. So that's interesting. That's very interesting to me because I think why it's interesting is when you kind of just look at the Detroit Pistons right now. If you guys are watching live, you're probably seeing me struggling with my lower thirds because they're all out of whack because I didn't organize them. But we've talked about Michael Porter Jr. so much on our post game podcast, on our weekend podcast. When you just kind of look at the season he's having and what he's doing with the Brooklyn Nets, I think it does make a lot of sense from a basketball perspective of looking at a guy like him uh, and just what he's doing, being able to score at all three levels. His volume has gone up significantly, but his efficiency hasn't gone down. If you kind of like look at it from his year in Denver, his last year in Denver to his year in Brooklyn, it's about the same. I don't think he's getting 20, 25 shots a night in Detroit. I just don't. I do think, though, you could play him at power forward, next to Jalen Duren. He could be a guy that could easily be a secondary option. We always talk about getting Cade Cunningham a secondary option. I mean, could Michael Porter Jr. be that secondary option? Now, I did see Brian Windhorst yesterday say that he hasn't heard that Brooklyn is taking calls of possibly dealing Michael Porter Jr. I think as we do get closer to this deadline, I think everyone is available for the right price. I don't think anyone saw Luka Doncic getting traded. I think the Nets know where they're at as an organization. They're currently rebuilding. Michael Porter Jr. is their best asset. They could easily get the 2 first-round picks that have been reported that they would be seeking to possibly deal him. Obviously, salary filler to kind of match a Michael Porter Jr. contract, and maybe you throw in a young player on this team. I think it just really depends, like where the Pistons are at and like how far they really want to go with this team as we kind of get closer to the playoffs and who we're going to be playing in the first round, possibly getting out of the first round, getting into the second round. Like, are you going to see the Knicks? Are you going to see Boston? Are you going to see the Magic? Are you going to see the Cavs, who've been playing better as of late? So I think a guy like Michael Porter Jr. does kind of make some sense for the Detroit Pistons. And the Miles Bridges name, I'll just touch on this for a couple of minutes. I feel like there's someone in the organization that really likes Miles Bridges. Um, and it's not me like shitting on him like whatsoever, but like even before Trajan got here, you guys remember like the Pistons were internally interested in like Pascal Siakam while he was in Toronto. They were interested in Tobias Harris when he was still in Philly. They were interested in Miles Bridges, OG Anunoby when he was still in Toronto. Like obviously the front office and the organization was looking for a forward that could hit threes and could defend a little bit. The Miles Bridges name has been a name that has been kind of floated out there for a while. I really don't know who it is in the organization. They have to be a Michigan State alum. That's all I'm going to say. They have to be a Michigan State alum because um, just talking about him in 2026, I feel like I've been talking about him since 22, honestly. But just the player that he is, obviously, we know he can put the ball on the floor. He can shoot threes. He can be a lob threat. Obviously, him and LaMelo have like really good chemistry. I just kind of wonder, though, considering what Charlotte is doing right now, are they really willing to sell off on him? Because to start the season, Charlotte was really bad. They were one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference. But as of late, they've been playing really good basketball. They played excellent basketball in the month of January, and they're knocking at the door right now with the play-in tournament. I mean, they're right on the Chicago Bulls' ass. Like, I think they're only 2 or 3 games out of that 10 seed. If the Pistons could possibly see the Hornets in the first round, wouldn't that be something? That would be just fun for all the wrong reasons. If you guys know Sean, who we had in the podcast last week. He's like resident number one hater of Charlotte Hornets with their fans. They do not like Sean with the LaMelo and Cade discourse in the conversations. But that would be a really fun first round matchup. But kind of circling back to Miles Bridges, I just find it really hard to believe that Charlotte would want to sell off on him. But I guess if the offer is right, if Trajan and the Pistons have kind of just circled it down to Michael Porter Jr. or Miles Bridges of considering to make a move for those two players, if I had to take my pick, I'm probably going Michael Porter Jr. I really am. I think he's shown the ability to play on a championship caliber team when he won a championship in Denver with Nikola Jokic and those guys over there. He's shown the ability to kind of be a third option. He's shown the ability to hit 3-point shots at a pretty decent clip. He could be a number two option in the starting lineup with Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren. Like, could you imagine having 25 from Cade, 17 to 18 from Dern, and maybe you get like a cool, like, I don't know, let's just say like 15 to 20 from Michael Porter Jr. That would be pretty exciting. Like, does this organization feel like if you add a MPJ or a Miles Bridges, we'll say, are you good enough to make it out of the East and possibly make it to the NBA Finals this year in a Eastern Conference that doesn't have Jason Tatum this year, who basically said, I'm not coming back this year. Tyrese Halliburton is still hurt. I mean, you have a window to possibly make it to the finals and win a championship. Like, is Michael Porter Jr. or Miles Bridges one of those players? The organization is obviously weighing out all their options of players that could be available, but sounds like what Mark Stein has heard from talking to the Detroit Pistons, that they're really looking at both of those players in terms of upgrading their roster.